Traders, what's going on, guys? Cleveland here. It's time for another Monday market breakdown. Hope you guys are having a really good week. So far, so good. Monday, things are fairly calm, fairly timid. It's around 3 o'clock Eastern time, so haven't had too much action pop off yet. And that's because we probably are a little bit more weighted till the end of the week for our larger fundamentals. Thursday and Friday, we got some pretty big news. Thursday, all GBP, go check it out. And Friday, we got some stuff coming up. Tuesday, we do have an FOMC meeting as well. So, but let's talk about last week. So last week I mentioned the Aussie short. Last week I mentioned the US dollar short. And last week I mentioned the pound. I don't really know, are we having a shift in terms of market conditions to where we're just going to push and push and push and push. So Euro consolidated. All right, we had one more leg up that took us to $1.10, which was a projection of mine probably around 2.5 weeks ago. And then Aussie sold completely off. I'm gonna give you guys how I executed in these moves in a second. And pound just consolidated. Okay, so the big trade of the week last week was that Aussie sell, and I made nothing on that. Okay, so another trade was, a potential Euro push to the upside. It was a nice break of structure. I'll show you guys in the chart what I'm talking about. But I mentioned a wedge formation where we could take a break out of the high. Made nothing on that either. Long story short, guys, I made $0 last week. Okay, so I'm not too mad about that. Usually when I'm coming out break even, it's really just null and void, right? But at the end of the day, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So I like to, I like to make money. I really do. But if I don't lose any money, that's not that bad either. So started fresh this week. Pound consolidated, not much movement on that. And I didn't play in anything else. Okay, I stuck to my 3 last week, all right? Because if I did play in other things, I could show you guys we did have some markets ripped. GBP AUD ripped, USD JPY ripped. Okay, so there were opportunities to make money. I just didn't get involved. Okay, so I was actually talking about that on my Instagram. I'll post my Instagram below. A lot of times I'll actually give updates and whatnot of what I'm actually in my Instagram story. Okay, so but other than that, folks, this week, interesting. All right, interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about the structure, and let's talk a little bit more about what we have set up in terms of the fundamentals. All right, so that Euro, this is what I'm going to show you. I was talking to Bill, one of my members, and I mentioned that over the past 2.5 months, I showed the actual market conditions of the Euro, and it's fairly trendy, okay? Literally last week was the most consolidated the Euro has been in around 6 or 7 weeks, all right? So last week, you had a lot of guys probably get washed around a bit, okay? So let's hope that we can actually get some true momentum on this Euro to give us a market direction, okay? Volatility, bad. Momentum, good, okay? 2 different things, all right? So lots of volatility last week, no direction, all right? Let's hope we can get some direction this week. We might be able to get a spill. Will we get a spill in this Euro? I don't know. I hope we do. I hope we do, because I'm telling you, when I pull over into the charts, the reward on this thing still sitting at the 0920s right now. The reward on this thing is nice. It could make your month. All right, chill back, relax, do your thing, and just kind of maybe play around a little bit, but hit your goals. Okay, that's the end of the game. All right, that's why a lot of traders, a lot of institutions, look, if you're having a good solid month, the first, second week of the month, why keep going hard the third, fourth week? I know that sounds a little, counterintuitive to business, but that's the way this business works. You don't know if you're going to really have premier market conditions all the time. So if you're getting something really nice and you're doing well and you're executing really well, you can ramp things down a bit, all right? That's how things roll. I promise it is, okay? Because why start giving those profits back, all right? Just as likely as things can go in your direction, they can start going against you too. Okay, so it's important when things are going really good and things are really solid and you're hitting off on different goals that you have in terms of percentage gain, potentially in terms of a monetary amount. If you've maxed out at where you kind of want your portfolio to sit, then definitely I start ratchet it down a bit. All right, but other than that, folks, Euro, maybe we get a push. Maybe we can get a push to the sell side. I'm looking at the fundamentals right now, and we have Euro, we have ECB President Draghi speaking on Wednesday. Tuesday, nothing too much coming out. German industrial production numbers Monday, nothing too much coming out. So Wednesday, we have a couple of things that can drive us around a bit. Okay, we have a couple of things. So maybe this will be what gives us a little bit of a sell side move. We will see. Okay, we will see. But that's all sentiment based. Looking at the structure, we'll go over into the charts for that. Aussie came down 61.8% retracement. Aussie, one of the most beautiful trades in terms of trading weeks that I've seen in a very long time. Again, biggest sell day that we've had in 2017. And I think, I don't go to the day, but I think it's also the biggest sell week that we've had in 2017. And for me to have had a sell side idea, here's a snippet. Okay, how about we do that? Here's a snippet where I wanted to short the Aussie. We were looking at this these 75-20s level here, and we were looking for the 75-20 level to break, and if it does, then we're in a trade. All right, so basically that's it for you folks. Now on the buy side, we don't have a buy. I'm not looking for a buy right now. I really would like to take a little bit of a sell. Maybe we can get a little bit of a retracement. Okay, so that was the last week's snippet of me saying, hey, let's short at this level right here. It was beautiful. Came up to the channel, had a little bit of a level of consolidation at that high. A break of that, and literally you are free and clear to make whatever you wanted at that point, okay? So definitely could have wrapped up the month with that position. Didn't execute on it. Ridiculous. But I love that most of my guys did get in on that move, so that does make me feel a little bit better, all right? But other than that, at this point right now, what do I want to see as somebody who is a somewhat of contrarian, right? I want to probably see the Aussie consolidating a bit and maybe giving me an upside push. You know, but as of right now, we're still consolidating. I'll show you in the charts down at that 61.8. So we'll see what happens on that. So for the pound, do have a couple of guys in short on the pound. I'm not yet short on the pound. I'm going to pull over to the charts. We'll look at some of the technicals. Big pound news coming out Thursday. I'll look at how some of those fundamental implications are going to play out, and I'll be posting them in the community. All right. By the way, huge update to the community coming. I mean, I'm talking probably going to be one of the most premier trade-based communities online, period. Custom made just for the Top Trader team. It's going to be freaking amazing. Some of my top traders have already seen it, and you know, I'm going to start posting maybe some pictures later this week into the community. I got some beta testers coming in, beta testers coming in a little bit later this week to test some things out, but it's going to be awesome. I'm talking your brokers directly embedded into the chat, live video feeds, live Bloomberg coming into the chat room, your fundamental data right inside of the chat, your FX quotes right inside of the chat, and commodities right inside of the chat. You literally don't even have to freaking leave the screen. I've been using it as somebody who uses 3 different platforms, Thinkorswim, I go to my fundamentals for trading economics, and I'm using my Oanda as my broker. I've literally just stayed inside of the chat. So I'm like, holy shit, this is, I mean, anytime you create a product, if you don't want to use it, then it's a shitty product, all right? I'm using this thing, and it's awesome. So I'm definitely excited to launch that for you guys. Other than that, folks, let's pull over here into the charts. Do I have a special pair up? I haven't looked at anything. I'm trying to make some freaking money on our 3 because I think that there's something there. All the volatility on that Aussie, I hope that volatility doesn't end because, again, we could get another push or a different market direction. Euro, what am I going to do? Avoid the Euro? Stop looking at it? I'll have a gap sitting right here of 150 points, all right? I want to play that thing. And if there is something that I might replace for a little bit, it might be this pound USD because it just has not been my friend. I have missed really I haven't even talked about it. Haven't had any trades, haven't been involved. I've been involved in the pound Aussie, but I haven't even been involved in the pound USD. So might switch the pound USD off for a little bit until I can get something, until it can start to get some strength or some weakness. But I need some opportunity. All right, so let's go into the charts. Let's see what we got. And again, always guys, if you ever have any questions, send me up. I'm always here. Okay, let's go into the chart, see what we get. Guys, I forgot to mention one thing. Macron. Holy shit, right? How could I just avoid that? This weekend, Macron won, right? So the title of this video, I was anticipating to make it. Macron won, now what? And I forgot to mention the whole little spiel about that. So I want you guys to notice something when he actually won the election. You got to remember, 2 weeks ago, okay, it was priced in 80% chance that he was going to win. So that's why you got the gap, right? So literally what happens after he wins the election over the weekend, you get what? Maybe an extra 30 pip gap. All right, so you do have some pricing in. A gap is a gap. You know, that's very interesting to have a gap. But the largest substantial gap that came was from the anticipation that Macron was going to do well, okay? So just think about that, all right? Think about how investors work in terms of investors striving for an idea of future valuation, an idea of buying something valued at a low price point. All right, so think of it like this. You have the euro at, what was it at? Sitting in the $7s. With Macron victory and a Le Pen victory, who knows what, right? You then get the release in terms of who is more likely to win. In terms of, I guess they pushed out, you know, some of the data in terms of the polling numbers and things like that. And you get Macron 80% in the lead. Immediately, what happens? Yeah, he didn't win the election yet, but at the end of the day, it's likely that he's going to. Okay, so you have a rush into that market, and then boom, you have your gap up. Okay, he actually wins, and then you get a small gap. Well, remember, it was already priced in that he was going to win the election. All right, so there you go. A lot of people are anticipating this enormous gap when it's like, okay, well then what did you think that first gap was for? All right, the first gap was for because, again, the anticipation that he was going to win. You have people that wanted to get in early. That's what it's all about, folks. Buy low, sell high, right? So guess what? You buy low. The second you get data with an inkling that something can happen in your favor, you bulldoze right into it. I actually talked about it on a webinar last night. Last night we were all on a webinar, and I was just talking about the idea of, you know, a marketplace and people receiving data. And when people receive that data, their immediate response. Okay, if you have a buying mindset for the Euro USD, and you get data that comes in that says, hey, it's likely that the European Union is going to stay together, which is strong for the Euro economy, even though the victor never was, has yet to be announced because there still needs to be more polling. At the end of the day, you're going to execute on that buy, period. Okay, you're not going to sit around and wait for him to get elected. That's like sitting around and waiting for Trump to sign in the office on January 20th. But when I show you in the charts in November, as soon as he wins, boom, you have an 8% move. Okay, that's like waiting on Donald Trump to start enacting some of his economic policies before you get in on the buy for the U.S. dollar. By then, you saw that the fact that he wasn't even able to stimulate the economy the way he was perceived to be able to do. So again, you want to get in the market on a perceived idea in certain instances. Sometimes the market is very political based. Sometimes the market is very data based. There are different tendencies and there are different ways, I guess, you can level things. But that was interesting to see how when his victory comes in, you know, you don't have much of a gap. But 2 weeks beforehand, when it's likely for him to win, that's where you get your substantial move. Market's already priced in. That's a perfect example of the market pricing in. And right now, I'm just assuming that we do have a slight overpricing. Okay, I think we pushed a little bit too high. So for now, okay, so I do want to short that euro down a bit and maybe push it back up into the $11s, $12s. All right, but other than that, let's go back over into the charts, okay? All right, traders, let's check out our three pairs, starting off with this euro dollar. So I want to go over something that I mentioned last night, Sunday night. All right, so this is the structure that we're looking at. That's the gap up that we had over the Macron victory on Sunday night. All right, Saturday was the day of the announcement. And so what I did was I drew up some zones here, okay? So if I push over a bit, we were in the later part of the day. And so we started making some kind of structural formations at like this, okay? So immediately we start to see that, okay, we do have a level here at the 0950s. And so you kind of can say to yourself as well that, okay, well, there is a structural high here, okay, in the 010 flats, high 09s, all right? So what I mentioned to the team was basically that, hey guys, we definitely could see this thing push over a bit. You got to ask yourself, folks, if everything's 50-50, okay, what extra variables, what is happening in the market right now that could give us, you know, a bias in terms of, hey, we have there's a higher propensity to push to the upside versus a higher propensity to push to the sell side. And everything was kind of pointing to the sell side, all right? So when you draw things up in terms of a fib retracement from this level to this level, we're sitting there kind of near a 38.2, giving us a little bit more room to run. And when you're doing things from this low to this high, we're sitting and ranging around a 23.6. Okay, kind of pinging near a 38.2. So other than that, folks, you know, again, when you had the gap filled, gap immediately filled, looking at the structural high, again, we gave a conclusion that, hey, we could probably short this thing out. You get one more spike. That was one more spike. We had one 30-minute spike that happened within this time frame here. But other than that, we've been having some pretty solid follow through. So now we're sitting back down on a retracement level, a 61.8% retracement level from this swing here all the way back up in. All right, so we're kind of ranging around there at the moment, and so boom, pretty much ending towards a potentially full retracement, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. So if I draw up something on the daily here to show you guys my ideas, I guess we'll stop going so micro, start going a little bit macro. You know, you had the 2017 blah 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 push up. Okay, weakness from Trump, rally. This was the scare of the EU breaking up. A lot of those fears came out during this move. Not only that, Draghi spoke about having and lessening interest rates. You didn't have an immense sell-off. This was Donald Trump here in this area not being able to pass the healthcare bill. But then you had a lot of liquidity come back in on the sell side there.
I think in anticipation of this push up there. Okay, so you had some institutional investors, some brokers, some hedge funds, or whatever, really positioning themselves to get a good feasible price in on the announcement in terms of the polling numbers, and then boom, we pop up into the high here, and now we're kind of just ranging around. So if we draw things up from this low to the high, you guys will see we're sitting right here at the 23.6. Okay, and so again, if the momentum in this market is going to stay as strong as it is, then we're going to just keep racing. We're going to hang out in this range, go no lower than this 38.2, and then we're just going to kind of keep pushing higher. Okay, so again, that's if the momentum is there. But if we do have some kind of strengthening coming in for the US dollar, then immediately we will see a retracement and we can potentially have a gap fill. All right, so this is the setup that I'm looking at right now, okay? I want to start seeing some price action to the sell side. It'd be great to get in at this 23.6. All right, so I'm back in the 0.19s. I mentioned this last week, starting to sell off in the 0.19s. Well, we're here again. We needed one more leg up, and now we're back. All right, so let's see if we can get some price action in the 0.19s to start giving us some short ideas. Now, if you're a little bit less risk averse and you want to, maybe take the breakout of the low here, well, you'd have to wait an extra 70 points down to the 0.850s, and at the 0.850s, you could take a break, and then boom, you would want to see the gap fill, and you're looking for a pretty decent risk reward there. You're around 100 points, all right? In terms of reward, in terms of risk, I guess your risk would be back up here in the 0.950, so you're really right around a 1-on-1 risk reward on that one. Not amazing. But it's not about the risk reward, it's about the probability, right? I mean, who cares if it's a 1-to-1 or not? What's more likely, yeah, I'm going to grab an extra 50 pips on this down move, but, is the market going to prevail to me that, hey, look, we are going to start showing some momentum to the downside? It may not. So that's the risk of having these extra pips in terms of exposure. All right, but you mitigate that risk of the market going against you when you start taking breaks out of structure, but you add on the risk of downside potential in terms of the position going against you. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. I'd like to see this thing flood from this 23.6. Again, not going to hop in on this thing. Maybe we'll get some announcements. As I mentioned, we do have some big news on Friday, Thursday, and we do have a FOMC meeting on Tuesday, so tomorrow, on Wednesday, and then I think we do have some extra stuff going on with Draghi speaking on Wednesday as well. So again, we'll wait it out. We'll see what happens, but that's it. Do I have a buy side idea on this euro? I mean, I don't not have a buy side. I would really need these levels to hold, and start to, again, if I get a buy signal, then I'll definitely execute on potentially taking some buys even higher, getting into the dollar. Maybe this market can start heading out to the $10.50s and the $11s and start actually closing up there in those highs. But again, this gap fill is kind of frustrating to see this thing sitting there and not filling. So again, I'm going to move on from it eventually and act as if there's price action there. Beautiful price action that filled, and I'm just going to move on from it ever existing, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's see if we can sustain the highs. If we can't, let's start taking some shorts. If we do, then we might have to start painting a picture of some buy-side participation. So for this Aussie dollar, Aussie right now is ranging at a 61.8% fib. All right, let me pull over and show you guys. So pretty simple trade here on this Aussie. I'd like to start seeing some buy-side on this Aussie. I really would. So we sat down here at the 61.8. Now, does the Aussie have to hold here at the 61.8? It doesn't. It could definitely rip the other direction. But, we came from the 75.50s, and we're all the way down at the 73.80s. So, that's a solid 100, 170 pips to the sell side. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. So, maybe we could start to see, this market maybe start turning around, maybe a small retracement back up into the 74.50s. That's what I was mentioning earlier. And, we may break that low. And if we break that low, then we have to restructure our ideas. And, I can't be as responsive as I am on YouTube, via how responsive I am in the broadcast, in the chat rooms, because, again, I'll get such structural formations, and I can immediately say, hey, guys, this is what's happening right now. So, you want to make sure you're in that room so I can give you an idea of what's going on. So this is what I'm looking at on the short term. Okay, we're holding this 23.6 right now. And again, maybe we can maintain this rush of price action. Maybe we can take the break of this low here, but we're really just going to have to see. We might, I'm not opposed to taking the break at the low, but we have the Aussie session opening up in the next hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours. So we'll see what happens. But again, buy side, if Aussie can hold the 61.8, start to get some closes there, That could be a good sign. And if Aussie starts to break this low and really hang out below that level there, then we could definitely run. Okay, in terms of targets, where are we at? We could definitely run easily down to the 73 flats. Easily down to the 73 flats, okay? Which is this really old structure that I used to love to play with back on the weekly. So yeah, that's just it. That's just it. 73 flats. Let's see what we get. All right, so right down here. All right, so you see the structure here, right around these levels there. Okay, so that's 73 teens. So cool. All right, so pushing over to the pound. Pound again. Don't have much on the pound. Really need this pound to figure out what it wants to do. Now, if you notice, if you've been holding the pound, okay, you've probably been able to make some money. But I don't know many people that want to hold the pound for 2 weeks and through all the whiplash and only gross 160 pips. Okay, so again, it doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. I think if you put capital up for 2 weeks, I think you can gross more than 160 pips. So again, unless you're really just waiting for a buy or a sell or something, you just have this amazing idea. Pound hasn't done much for you. So just pulling out a bit, just kind of looking at things again. You guys, we're in the same area. We got to see what's going to go on. Is this pound going to freaking sell off? That's what I'm really kind of waiting on. Or are we going to really just hang around these levels, create more structure? And then remember, folks, the more structure that's created, the more that actually gives buyers the idea that we can sustain. So you could actually get some more strength to the upside. But if it hangs around there too long, then again, you might have some buyers start to get a little bit fearful. All right, so we just have to see what happens. But as it looks right now, I'm really just again looking for this pound to play to the sell side. I really would like it for it to happen. But again, if the fundamentals are just too strong on this thing to start to sell it off, sentiment is going to make it so that this thing just keeps running and running and running and running to the upside. So we'll just have to see what happens. It's a very simple week this week. Hopefully it's better than last week. Hopefully this euro makes some moves here, all right, and maybe it can start to get a little bit of a close down here. I don't mind taking some buys literally right here in the 0.19s. I could do that. And for this Aussie, I don't mind taking this Aussie for some buys once if it can get back up into the 74.20s, okay, which is at 23.6 there. All right, so guys, that's my analysis for this week. If you're in the room, I'm definitely going to be throwing out what positions I am in. And let's see what we get, okay? Your profit, always my motive. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. Peace.